Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Essential Family Guide to Borderline Personality Disorder, New Tools and Techniques to Stop Walking on Eggshells, by Randi Kreger. Narrated by Elizabeth Wiley. About this book. The information in this book reflects the best of three types of research: an exhaustive 3-year survey of the latest scientific studies related to borderline personality disorder, BPD, interviews with more than 24 top mental health clinicians and researchers, and the collective experiences of thousands of people affected in one way or another by BPD. All these individuals are members of the Welcome to Oz online family community located at bpdcentral.com or the Facing the Facts message board at www.bpdfamily.com. Welcome to Oz, or WTO, has provided an online home for more than 65,000 family members since it started in 1996. It functions much like a real-life support group, except that members communicate via email instead of face-to-face. Current membership stands at 16,000, with members gathering by type of relationship, parents, siblings, step-parents, or similarities in their situations, partners who want to stay in the relationships versus those who have decided to separate. Facing the Facts, with 7,000 members, offers the same support. There, members post their thoughts on an online message board. In Part 1 of this book, you'll learn exactly how BPD impairs an individual's thoughts and feelings, which in turn triggers behaviors such as raging, perceived manipulation, suicide threats, and excessive blame and criticism. Since the bane of every family member is finding effective professional help, Chapter 6 provides hard and soft qualities to look for in a clinician, and 7 questions that separate neophyte BPD providers from those with the necessary experience. Then, armed with the new insight about how your borderline family member experiences the world, you'll be introduced to 5 powerful tools that will help you organize your thinking, learn specific skills, and focus on what you need to do to avoid becoming overwhelmed. They will help you become more confident and clear about who you are, and they will show you steps to take to improve the quality of your life. Many self-help books are written so listeners can skip from chapter to chapter as needed. This book isn't one of them. The chapters in The Essential Family Guide to Borderline Personality Disorder are like Russian dolls. You open a big doll, and inside there's a smaller doll, and inside that a smaller one, and so on. Many of the concepts and terms used are unique to this book, so start at the beginning and go straight through. The one exception is the chapter on finding a therapist. If you feel trapped, this book will teach you how to get unstuck. If you feel burdened, you'll learn how to ask for help from others. If your self-esteem is in the pits, you'll learn how to climb up step by step. And perhaps most important, you'll come to realize that you have a right to your own feelings and your own beliefs, and the right to pursue your own goals. Psychiatrist Milton Erickson said, "There are so many things you know, it's just that you haven't always known that you know them." After you're done listening to this book, you'll know. Terms you need to know. To keep it simple, we use the following terms throughout the book: borderline and BP. Because the diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, BPD, has been so stigmatized, it's much more acceptable to say he's bipolar or she's a diabetic than to say he's borderline. In effect, there is a double standard. Just the word borderline conjures up such negative stereotypes that many people avoid the term altogether or use a substitute. One popular alternative is consumer, as in consumer of the mental health system. However, a large percentage of people with BPD are not in the mental health system. They are in as much denial of their illness as an active, untreated alcoholic. They not only don't seek treatment, but also forcefully repel any suggestion to do so. People with BPD are finding their own solution, just as people who are gay or lesbian have adopted the word queer as their own. Individuals with BPD use the term borderline, or BP for short. This book will follow their lead. Family member and non-BP. A similar problem surrounds the term family member. Like the term consumer, family member is limited. The effects of BPD are far-reaching. In addition to the immediate family, the disorder impacts the lives of extended relatives, co-workers, friends, in-laws, step-parents, those who emotionally support family members, and even therapists. For this reason, the term non-BP refers to anyone who is in a situation in which the behavior of a BP affects him or her. Non-BPs may have their own mental health issues too, from depression to a personality disorder. In fact, it's common for some non-BPs to have either BPD or narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. You'll hear more about narcissism later. Stop Walking on Eggshells has an appendix called Tips for Non-BPs Who Have BPD. The terms BP and non-BP are not a philosophy meant to divide loved ones and family members into separate camps. They're just shorthand, like saying scuba gear instead of self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Part 1. The ABCs of BPD. Chapter 1. Welcome to Oz. Be true to yourself despite being misunderstood. It is painful, but not fatal. I Ching. Do you feel as though you're walking on eggshells around someone important in your life? Does this phrase immediately strike not just a chord, but a whole piano concerto? If so, someone in your life may have either borderline personality disorder, BPD, or borderline traits. Take a look at the following questions. If you answer yes to most of them, your loved one might have BPD. Does she see you in one of two modes, either a hateful person who never loved her, or a source of blessed unconditional love? Does he continually put you in no-win situations? When you try to explain that his position is the opposite of what he said earlier, does it bring on more criticism? Is everything always your fault? Are you the target of constant criticism? Are there times when everything seems normal and you're on her good side, even idealized, but then, for no obvious reason, everything falls apart? When he's angry, does it degrade into a take-no-prisoners vicious attack that leaves you reeling? Does she use fear, obligation, and guilt to get her way? Do you feel so manipulated that you don't trust her anymore? Are you starting to doubt your own sense of reality? Has constant exposure to his skewed sensibility, combined with isolation from family and friends, made you feel like Dorothy confounded in the strange land of Oz? What is borderline personality disorder? Borderline personality disorder is a serious mental illness that causes those who have it to see people and situations as all good or all bad, to feel empty and without an identity, and to have extreme blink-of-an-eye mood swings. People with BPD act impulsively. Their self-loathing and extreme fear of abandonment can cause them to lash out at others with baseless criticism and blame. Some practice self-harm or see no other option than suicide as a way to end their pain. People with borderline personality disorder experience the world much differently than most people. For reasons we don't entirely understand, the disorder distorts critical thought processes, resulting in emotions and actions that are out of the norm. If we could look inside the heads of people with BPD to see the way they think, we'd find out they live in a world of extremes. To them, people and situations are all good or all bad, with nothing in between. They don't just admire or respect someone, they elevate that person to an impossible standard, and then knock him down when he inevitably disappoints them. They see themselves in this way, too, so that one small misstep leads them to think, I am a worthless person. If you could snap your fingers and, by magic, experience what a BP feels, you would be overwhelmed by self-loathing, an intense fear of being abandoned, and a relentless sense of emptiness. Irritability and depression would be there too, a steady drumbeat knocking out feelings of joy and even simple satisfaction. BPD is a cancer that eats away at my body, mind, and soul, says one woman with the illness. It's easy enough to observe how BPs act. Actions, unlike thoughts and feelings, are obvious. They're what make people with BPD so hard to live with. BPs behave impulsively, not thinking things through. Some deliberately hurt themselves, they make themselves bleed, or they attempt suicide. They may spend too much money, engage in dangerous sex, abuse drugs or alcohol, drive recklessly, shoplift, or eat in a disordered way. People with BPD repeatedly pull people toward them, often desperately, and then brusquely shove them away through bitter criticism, unappeasable rages, and fits of irrational blaming. They elevate people onto a lofty pedestal and then push them off. Some BPs put people into no-win situations and make absurd accusations. What's difficult for loved ones to understand isn't the what of borderline behaviors, but the why. What is it like to have BPD? Helen is a 22-year-old borderline woman who just transferred from a small community college to a large university, miles away from friends and family. Other people see her as talented and bright, though a little standoffish. She sees herself as defective and keeps to herself because people terrify her. To assuage the loneliness, she sometimes sleeps with men she doesn't know very well, just to feel their bare skin on hers. She is a binge eater now. In high school, she was anorexic. She keeps a journal from which the following entry is taken. Spelling and grammar are preserved. I want to be dependent sometimes. I want to be taken care of. I want to be loved no matter what. I want complete understanding from everyone, at all times, no less, ho, ho, ho. I want someone who makes love to me, to love me, to understand how I feel besides this journal. I want to really touch someone, and I want them to touch me. I don't know where to go. I doubt myself so much. I don't respect myself. I don't have confidence. I can do whatever. I want to be like a normal person. I want true love. I feel insecure and tired. I am afraid of myself and my feelings. I am afraid, horrified, that other people will hurt me. I can't accept myself. I don't feel in control of my behavior. I can't control my eating. I think if I let it all out, I could scream and cry and rage and fear and disappointment, anger, hurt. I feel like a little girl. I want someone to come along and take control and enfold me and tell me I will be okay. I feel tired of living sometimes. I want to help myself, and my room is so messy I can't stand it. I feel like I alternate be feeling so dead inside and feeling so much, such rage I would rather be dead. Why do I feel so self-conscious around my roommate? She tells me my feelings are too intense. I'm too spacey. I take everything as criticism. Why do I feel so angry when someone tells me to open up and share my feelings? Why do I let them manipulate me? I am so very hungry. I am me. My name is Helen, 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 Helen. What is it like to care about someone with BPD? Loving someone with BPD is a full-time job. Family members describe it as living on an emotional roller coaster or walking on eggshells. They feel alternately pursued and rejected, as if they're constantly being tested for something but unsure of what it could be. Over time, people who are close to someone with BPD become so accustomed to living with abusive behavior, they start to think it's normal. Family members frequently experience feelings of guilt, shame, depression, exhaustion, isolation, and helplessness. People affected by the behaviors of someone with BPD come in two categories: chosen and unchosen. In the chosen category are partners and friends. The unchosen category encompasses parents, siblings, in-laws, step-parents, both blood family, and those who find themselves in this situation because of their relationship with someone else. For example, a wife whose husband's father turns out to have BPD. If you have someone in your life with BPD, you may be angry a great deal of the time at yourself, your loved one, fate, and the healthcare system. Be drained of emotional energy, your inner resources tested to the limit. Grieve for the loss of your dreams of the happy child, loving partner, close sibling, or loving parent. Fear for your physical safety. Question your own self-worth and your ability to be a good parent, partner, relative, or friend. Experience strain in other family relationships. Experience financial difficulties. Constantly walk a tightrope, balancing your needs and the needs of the rest of your family against those of your BP. Deal with the social stigma of having a mentally ill person in your family. Lose contact with family and friends. Worry about being responsible for keeping your family member alive and healthy. Have your spirituality tested. Some people question their religious faith or their ability to see life as promising and good. Different types of relationships pose different challenges. The following stories, which are composites of actual family members, display the similarities and the differences of various relationships involving someone with BPD. Parents and grandparents. Parents of those with BPD receive a double whammy: the anguish from having a disturbed child, then, when they search for help, the shame and shock when most professionals hold them responsible for their child's suffering. Jill was a beautiful baby. I looked at her and I could feel the tug at my heart, says Kay, Jill's adoptive mother. Grade school wasn't easy for Jill. She clung to Kay like rubber cement, refusing to get on the yellow bus. "Don't make me go, Mommy. Let me stay with you." She had a hard time making friends, and teacher after teacher complained of her being uncooperative. The school counselor was certain that Jill would most likely grow out of it, but she never did. At 14, Jill became introverted and rebellious. "We thought it was just adolescent rebellion, but she never came out of it," says Kay. Years of misery followed: drinking, rebellious friends, and skipping school. Jill's screams of defiance were punctuated by slamming doors and flashing anger. She dated a boy who slammed her into her locker, leaving bruises up and down her arms. She yelled at her parents and demanded they get off her back. As soon as she turned 18, Jill moved in with an equally rebellious girlfriend, the friend's hard-drinking mother, and the mother's drug-dealing boyfriend. The mother moved out of town, leaving the two girls and the boyfriend alone in the apartment. Jill's new boyfriend, Sam, quickly moved in. A few months later, Jill announced that she was pregnant. Her parents rallied to her side and met Sam, the child's father. Jill and Sam wanted to get married, so Kay quickly put together a lovely wedding. Jill was radiant. After baby Alicia was born, Jill seemed grateful for her parents' love and support. Alicia quickly became the joy of all their lives. But then Jill felt restless again and rebellious. She began seeing other men behind Sam's back. When she met Trevor, she divorced Sam and married her new love just a few months later. Cozying up to her parents, Kay and Doug, Jill convinced them to pay for another wedding. Then Jill ignored them the entire day of the wedding. She had no photos taken with her family, only with Trevor's family. She called them her real family now. Jill started using her daughter and stepchildren to control her parents. For example, one day Jill told them they could spend the time with Alicia only if they took her husband's two boys as well. Kay and Doug agreed. After all, they wanted to establish a relationship with their new step-grandchildren, too. But even though they treated all three children equally well, Jill raged at them for showing favoritism toward Alicia. "You'll never see any of the children again," she threatened. Kay and Doug found that it was much easier to see Alicia when she was visiting her father, Sam. They knew that Jill wouldn't like it, but they felt they had no other choice if they were to have a positive and loving relationship with their granddaughter. Unfortunately, when Jill found out about the visits, she became so enraged that she accused Sam and Doug of sexually molesting Alicia. Careful examination by a doctor and psychologist found no basis for the accusation, and the charges were dismissed. The psychologist recommended counseling for Jill, but she refused. Kay and Doug are now in the process of getting court-ordered visitation rights, so they will still be able to have some relationship with Alicia. "We don't want to abandon her because I think she's already had a lot of emotional damage from the things Jill has subjected her to," Kay says. "I think we are the only people in her life who show her constant, unconditional love." Their only hope is that the court will see through Jill's lies. Yet they know how convincing she can be. Partners. Richard met Laurie at a party and was immediately taken by her stunning brown eyes. After dating for 18 months, Laurie began pushing Richard toward marriage. Her demands for his time and attention grew steadily until she became almost threatening. Not long after the couple married, Laurie announced that Richard should spend more time with her and less time with his friends. He did to keep her happy. She kept exploding over things, and it was always my fault, he says. I twisted and turned to please her, but it was never enough. I'd move out, she'd go into her I'm going to kill myself song, and I'd come back and try to make it better. After 2 years, he told her that perhaps they should separate for a while. He recounts what happened next. She started screaming at me about wanting to divorce her so I could sleep around. She said really ugly things about how I couldn't make her happy. I was so devastated that I just stood there with my mouth hanging open. Then she picked up a plate and threw it at me. It hit the wall. I picked up my gym bag and left. I was staying with my parents, and Lori called me there all hours of the day and at work to get me to come home. Finally, she started threatening to kill herself if I didn't come back. I gave in and moved back, sure my love could heal her. Then she became pregnant. When she suffered a miscarriage, she blamed me because she said I didn't love her or the baby. She said that this was how God was punishing me. My self-esteem had dropped so low that I was struggling at work and drinking a lot. I was spending more and more time away from home with my friends so I could avoid her anger and her rages. I vowed to get the hell out. Lori said that she felt terrible about what she had done. She was so sweet and seemed so sincere. She promised to change. She said how sorry she was and kept telling me that no one would ever love me as much as she did. We made love that night and conceived our son. The day my son was born was one of the happiest and most difficult days of my life. When Michael was 2 weeks old, I came home from work to find the locks changed. Lori screamed at me through the door that I would never see my son again and that she was going to have my parental rights revoked. I drove to a friend's house and sat on the front steps trying to figure out what to do next. Lori contacted a therapist who specialized in family and child sexual abuse. She convinced the therapist that I posed a threat to my son because of my abhorrent sexual behavior, and the therapist wrote a letter to her attorney suggesting that I be placed on restricted, supervised visitations. Early one morning, Lori dropped Michael off at the sitter and said she had to go to work. She never showed up. She began calling everyone she knew and telling them that she was killing herself. After a 6-hour search, paramedics found her in a hotel room trying to overdose. She survived and was put into psychiatric care. Her diagnosis was borderline personality disorder. My attorney filed for immediate temporary custody of Michael. It took 2.5 years and a lot of money, but I finally won full custody. Lori is now on supervised visits with our son. She has been on medication and in and out of therapy for the past 5 years. I wish her the best, because that's what's best for my son. Children. Kelly wrote, but never sent, this letter to her borderline mother, Ruth. For most of my life, I have been afraid of you. It is almost like I grew up with 2 mothers, the good mother and the bad mother. The good mother is very supportive and nurturing. She encourages me to get better at chess, stands up for me, worries about my future, and tells me she loves me. But when the bad mother appears, everything the nice mother does gets wiped away. The bad mother's anger is out of control, 'cause she can only feel better once she has destroyed. I'm 13 or so, and the bad mother doesn't like the way I eat. She thinks it's impolite. She tells me, "You'll never have any friends if you eat like that." I'm a teenager, and once a week I am supposed to take out the trash and clean my room. Sometimes I don't, and it's okay. Then sometimes the bad mother comes out and screams and yells and rages because the trash overflowed and the egg yolk hardened on the floor. She tells me what a jerk I am and says I can't watch TV for a week. "You're ruining the family," she screams at me. When I grow up, I try desperately to find someone who will love me. I keep on recreating my relationship with my mother by choosing men who ultimately reject me. When my husband gets irritated at me and doesn't want to talk, or if he says no when I initiate sex, I am convinced he no longer loves me, and we argue. When I return to reality, I don't understand what made me doubt his love, but I keep testing him 'cause I just can't stop. Siblings. Perry.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?